even the false teacher. That's the beauty of it. Because the false teacher means there's ego, and it perhaps draws your ego. And you'll be learning something about ego. Suffering will arise sooner or later, and you will be learning exactly what you need to learn. So it would be futile to say to somebody, don't go to that teacher, that person feels drawn. Learn what you have to learn there. And the same when spiritual teaching comes out as in the form of language and thought. There's a great difference between the ways in which it's being expressed verbally. And again, that differs even astrologically. It might have an influence. The Pisces may teach in a different way from a Leo. Basically, it's the same underneath that, but the form that the teaching takes. When one is enlightened, awake as you are, does the pain body still exist? Do you have one? I don't seem to have one in here, but I can feel the human pain body. And sometimes I feel it so much, the collective pain body, that I cry. I can feel that the pain that is in the collective field, the collective unconscious of humanity. And so it happens sometimes that I cry, and then if somebody sees me, they might think, oh, you must have a pain body. In a way I do, because there's still this physical form. The physical form is linked to the planet and to all humans. I've read your first book, The Power of Now, 6 times. That's not uncommon. Each time I go deeper with it, the book seems to vibrate with energy. Even when I first saw it in a bookstore a year ago and knew nothing about you. Period. Your second book, a condensed version of your first book, seems to lack energy. Will you write another book that vibrates, a book that reflects your teaching as it evolves? It's true that it contains, as all spiritual writings do that come straight from presence, they contain an energy field that goes far beyond the words or the informational value of the words. The value of the words as information may be valuable, but the function of a truly spiritual text, as well as the function of spiritual discourse, verbal discourse, always goes far beyond the information that the words convey, because the words arise out of presence. They carry the energy frequency of presence. So they reach you, of course they go into your ears, then they go through the filter of the brain where the meaning is extracted from the words. It's decoded because it's only sounds that go into your ear. Then they're translated into nerve impulses. Then they reach your brain. Then the brain decodes the nerve impulses. And then, usually, that is the end of you hear something, you've decoded it, and that's it. With spiritual discourse, the same thing happens. It is being decoded, and then it continues to work inside you even after the meaning has been decoded. The energy moves in and awakens presence within you. It touches that which is beyond the conditioned mind, and that is the true power of spiritual teaching, which goes far beyond what the words mean. And that applies both in verbal teachings as in written teachings. In verbal teachings can be even more powerful, and I must admit I have no idea how it gets into the written word. I didn't do it as such, it just happens. How it happens is a mystery. How is it possible? It's only words on a page, it's only symbols, and yet the text contains an energy field. And that is wonderful, and this is why people can read it many times, and that's the power of spiritual teaching. Everything else is only information. Now, most books you buy in bookshops, even spiritual books, probably 90% are information-based. And then there's 10% of books that contain power. If you read the words of Ramana Maharshi, you can see that they also contain power, spiritual power. And you can read them many times. And they're always fresh and new. And there are other books, ancient ones too, certain ancient texts. Now it can happen in people who are totally identified with mind. They pay so much attention to the meaning of the words that the words reach the decoder in the brain and never go beyond it. The net is there of thought that holds them is so strong. All they get is the information that the words convey, and it doesn't reach them. This doesn't apply to you, any one of you. It applies to people who have very dense mind structures. They would come and only listen intellectually or read from the point of view of the intellect, and then they might say, that was quite an interesting talk, he had quite a few ideas. I liked his ideas. Not bad. Now what's the next thing? Where's the next book? So it's beautiful when it works for you, and this is how it should. It is also helpful because once you can sense that, all you need to do is pick up a book, open, read half a page or one page or a few lines, and you will know whether this text carries power or not. And increasingly you may not want to read, especially spiritual. Other things, information is useful. But spiritual books, you may not want to read any more spiritual books that simply give you more facts, stuff, even more signposts perhaps, but it didn't come out of presents. And you can save a lot of money that way. Just go into a bookshop and then you put it back. Okay, I don't need this book. So am I going to write? I don't know about the selections from the book. Some people say it works well for them. Other people say it doesn't carry the same energy because it's not that a unified whole that varies from person to person. So if it works for you, fine. If it doesn't work for you, fine. Are you going to write another book that vibrates? A book that reflects your teaching as it evolves. It is true that the teaching evolves. It's already gone beyond what is in the book and continues to evolve. It is possible that after this long trip I may sit down and focus on writing again. And some people are preparing edited transcripts of talks and retreat talks, and so I'm going to look at that, and that may become the basis for a new book, which, if it works, is also going to vibrate. Let me know if it vibrates. I have heard many stories of how people found the book, how the book came to them. Quite amazing. One could write a book about these different stories. And it is an energy field of its own, multiplied many, many times. And it gets into the strangest places all over the planet. Amazing. How can I free myself from my enormous desire and longing for a spiritual love relationship with a man? Although I do understand my desire for such a relationship, after 25 lonely and painful years of marriage, during which I could not give myself nor my ex-husband the love and acceptance that we were both longing for, I feel at the same time that this desire is the biggest trigger of my pain body. Even during this beautiful retreat, my pain body is sometimes active. For this reason, I'm aware of that. Since a long, long time, I feel a huge attraction towards a man. I hardly talked with him. I feel a strong attraction towards a man. I hardly talked with him because this attraction freezes me and makes me feel uncomfortable, because it feels almost unspiritual to have this earthly longing. Anyhow, these are the moments which keep me away from them now. Help needed. In brackets, haha. I'm very grateful to be with you. Thank you. That longing is in everyone. And as I mentioned earlier, it's to do with being this incomplete form. And this form wants to unite with the other half to complete itself. So you, as this physical form, may never be quite free of that longing. But as you go beyond identification with the physical form and the psychological form of me, that longing becomes an almost peripheral manifestation in your life. No longer makes you unhappy if it is not fulfilled. The psychological me uses that longing as a substitute for surrender. The belief that through some relationship I can complete myself. That the psychological sense of self, which also is not complete. The physical is not complete because the physical is one half of the whole. The psychological is not complete because it can never be. In its essence, it exists in a state of lack, of not enough, of insufficiency, of needing to add more. And the one thing that the self, the psychological self, believes often will make me complete is the relationship with the partner, the ideal, the one. And that can keep you going, that search can keep you going for a long time for the one human being who is going to complete me. On the physical, that pull remains. On the psychological, that longing for completeness is transcended, is gone beyond, as you no longer identify with a mental image of me, as you step out of identification with the mind-made self, which is always incomplete and will project its incompleteness in many cases onto that one thing that says, if I only had a partner, I would feel saved, totally myself, complete myself through him or through her. And if you should find a partner, for a while that may work, and then you find you cannot complete yourself through any form whatsoever. So what leaves you through surrender to what is, and which in your case might mean the feeling of great lack, the feeling of aloneness, the longing for him, you may not know who, and there's this great lack at the center of your being. And what do you do with that? That feeling of loneliness? If you're not vigilant, it becomes mind movements. It adds more to the story of the incomplete me who needs. You can think about it, project, imagine, and that only strengthens that. But if you allow what you feel to be there, the lonely, let's say it's called loneliness. Feel it, don't resist it. You may not even label it anymore. Simply be attentive. Look at it. No analysis. Just bringing presence to it. That feeling that you never wanted, that you want to get away from, that otherwise would continuously turn into thinking. Now, you're saying, there it is. It has a certain feeling quality to it. And you can give it so much attention that you're not even labeling it anymore as loneliness. Your attention that you give that feeling is just complete. And your acceptance of that feeling is complete because it is. Now, it is the form that this moment takes. So you surrender into that. So, alright, embrace it and see if it kills you. It won't. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to consume you, but it might consume the ego if you surrender into it. So, and then suddenly you will see it is turned into something else. I don't want to put any ideas into your head and say this is what it's going to turn into. You surrender into that. The longing becomes intense aliveness itself. The longing, if totally accepted, and that is even the longing for God, which says, I want God so much. On the other side of the longing, God is already hiding. It's a misinterpretation through the mind. It says, you don't have it. It's not here. And the beloved is on the other side of the loneliness. You suddenly experience a sense of completeness because you've surrendered totally into the feeling. And then you have gone beyond the psychological need for a relationship to complete you. There may still be a physical need on the level of physical body, on the level of sexuality or emotion, that if you're a man wanting close to you the female energy field, if you're a woman wanting the male energy field, this form may have that, but that is relatively minor. It's a very small movement. But deep down there's already such completion and completeness that that's a very minor surface movement of the form. It doesn't make you unhappy anymore. And then it is quite possible that you meet someone because you don't need him anymore. And then it is more likely that the relationship may work quite well because the need for this person to make you complete, which no human being could ever fulfill, it's an impossible task and an impossible demand. Every human being will fail, will not make you complete. So the need and the demand that this human being should provide that completion for you isn't there anymore. And that is why it is likely that the relationship will work quite well. And the need, the psychological, deep-seated psychological need is gone. Then if it happens, you welcome the relationship. If it doesn't happen, it's fine too, it's beautiful too. It's not everybody's destiny. That's beautiful too, to be alone. Solitude is beautiful. Loneliness is not. Solitude is to be alone and to be surrendered into that aloneness. Solitude, even sacred. Loneliness is to be alone and hate it, not wanting this. When you surrender into aloneness, it becomes solitude, and solitude even becomes more than that. It becomes a deep sense of connectedness with being itself. Because you'd really been looking for God through somebody else. And it's only through surrender that you can find God. So this is your spiritual practice, to work with that. Not to find Him, that's not your spiritual practice. These are the moments which keep me away from the now, because that sense of incompleteness and lack still tends to become mind movements, so it keeps you away from now. But it doesn't have to be like that. The very feeling that you experience, let it bring you into the now. Give it attention. Embrace it. No need to run away from it. Be welcome loneliness and turns into something else. Beautiful. We may have some more questions next time we meet. Maybe also one or two verbal questions if people prefer that. Gradually questions accumulate. I keep them all. I have a huge collection of questions. Enough for